Welcome to Mr. Disturbing. Tonight, we're plunging into the dark heart of the Appalachians with some truly unsettling true horror stories. That'll keep you up all night. If you're brave enough, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next descent into fear. My name is Darren Cole. I'm 44 years old. I live in Harlan County, Kentucky, near the shadow of Black Mountain. I'm a forensic ecologist, which is a fancy way of saying I study unusual wildlife deaths, the kind no one wants to talk about. Disease outbreaks, poisonings, unexplained die-offs. I get called when local game wardens or state police find something in the woods they can't explain. I've seen a lot over the years. But what happened to me last October, I still can't sleep through a night without waking up drenched in sweat. It started with a call from a friend in the state wildlife office. 3 hikers had gone missing in a remote stretch of the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, near an area the old maps called Dry Creek Hollow, though no maintained trails ran through it anymore. When search crews finally pushed in, they found something worse than missing persons. A cluster of dead animals, all in a shallow ravine. Deer, bobcats, even black bears, piled together like something had driven them to one place and left them to rot. The searchers refused to go further. That's when my phone rang. I agreed to go. The place was off-grid. No cell service. No nearby cabins. The land there is steep, folded tight with dense laurel and hemlock. I hiked in solo, carrying my usual gear, cameras, specimen kits, protective equipment, satellite beacon. By midday, I reached the reported site. The first thing that hit me was the smell. An overwhelming stench of decay, sour and metallic, thicker than anything I'd encountered. Then I saw them. Dozens of animal carcasses strewn across the rocks and leaf litter. No wounds, no signs of struggle, eyes open, tongues blackened. As I moved closer, the ground beneath my boots changed. The soil slick, dark, almost gelatinous. And the flies, there were none. No buzzing, no scavengers. Just silence. I began photographing the scene, documenting everything. That's when I noticed something else. Faint geometric patterns pressed into the soil beneath the bodies. Not random. Spirals, sharp-edged, too precise to be natural. I crouched to get a closer shot, and that's when my breath caught. Tangled among the deer bones was a human arm, stripped of flesh, the bone pale, spiral carvings etched deep into the radius. No tag, no ID, but it was fresh. I marked the spot, heart pounding. Something was wrong here, deeply wrong. I moved carefully, scanning the area. The further I pushed into the hollow, the stranger things became. Tree trunks twisted unnaturally, bark stripped in long, curling sheets. Birds were absent. No movement, no sound but my own breath. And then I found the tent, collapsed and rotting, hidden beneath a tangle of rhododendron. Inside were 3 packs, moldy, torn, scattered gear. And near the cold fire ring, a boot with the foot still inside, skeletal, tendons black and dry. My stomach churned. I radioed for extraction, nothing but static. The beacon wouldn't lock. My watch had frozen, 2:46 p.m. The air grew colder, dense with that same iron tang. And beneath it, I swear, I began to hear a low sound, not the wind, something deeper. A slow, rhythmic pulse through the ground. My instincts screamed to get out, but as I turned back, I caught a flicker of motion upslope, a shape too large for a man, pale and angular, moving with inhuman speed between the trees. I froze, then another shape, closer. Tall, thin, limbs elongated, almost gliding. The forest had come alive, but not with life, with watchers. Things that moved just beyond full sight. I pushed downhill, stumbling through brush, pulse racing. The spiral patterns seemed to follow, etched onto fallen stones. into the very moss beneath my feet. And then came the final horror of that day. A stone altar, half buried in a thicket, surrounded by bones, animal and human alike. The skulls grinned upward, spiral carvings deep in the bone. I couldn't breathe. I ran. When I finally reached my truck hours later, the sun had vanished, though it should have been mid-afternoon. My dash clock read 2:46 p.m., same as the frozen watch. I drove blind, unable to think, heart hammering. I never filed the full report. I never spoke to anyone about what I truly saw, but the nightmares began that night, and I know I left something of myself in that hollow. And worse, something followed me out. For days after, I didn't sleep. When I did, it was shallow, fragmented, and always the same images rose. The spiraled bones, the skeletal foot in the boot, the pale figures sliding between the trees. I tried to push it down, told myself it was stress, exhaustion. But by the third night, things began to change around me. It started with the smell. I'd wake in the early hours to that same wet, metallic stench filling my apartment, even with windows closed, vents sealed. The kind of smell that seeps into your skin, your clothes, your teeth. Then the animals started showing up. First it was a starling, dead on my balcony, wings folded neatly, a faint spiral scraped into the wooden railing beside it. Then a stray cat, belly split, left beneath my truck in the lot. No blood trail, no signs of scavengers, just placed there, as though something wanted me to see. I stopped going to work. I stopped answering calls. My mailbox filled with warnings, but none of it mattered. I knew the truth. I'd brought something out of that hollow, and now it was here. The spirals began to appear everywhere. On my walls, on condensation, even faintly burned into the glass of my bathroom mirror. I tried scrubbing them away, but they would reappear within hours. And always at the same time, 2:46 a.m., I would wake, drenched in sweat. Heart racing, to that deep, rhythmic pulse, rising through the floor, through my bones. The breathing of something vast, something old, something hungry. I began seeing movement in the corners of my apartment, quick, pale flashes of limbs, of shapes too thin, too tall, shadows stretching at impossible angles. I would turn. Nothing. But the feeling remained. Worse, the animal deaths escalated. 2 nights ago, I returned from a desperate grocery run to find a deer carcass sprawled across the hood of my truck in the parking lot. Throat unmarked, eyes open, skin gray and slick. No one saw who left it. Cameras caught nothing. The building manager refused to speak to me, eyes wide with something like fear. I checked out of my apartment that same night, drove west until exhaustion forced me into a roadside motel. But it followed. It always follows. The first morning there, I found 3 dead crows on the windowsill, their beaks snapped, laid in a perfect triangle. And inside, spirals had been scratched into the cheap veneer of the motel table. I barely eat. I barely sleep. And when I do drift off, I'm right back in the hollow, but deeper now. The bones have grown into towering spiral mounds. The air is thick with the stink of rot and iron. And in the pit at the center, something stirs. Something that sees me. I feel it more with each passing day. A growing pull, deep in my chest, in my skull, as though a hook had been driven through my mind, dragging me back. The thing in the hollow isn't done with me. I know that now. And neither are its servants. The last time I looked in a mirror, my reflection didn't match. My face seemed thinner, the skin around my eyes drawn, shadowed, and beneath the skin of my arms I could see it, faint, pulsing, the spiral pattern spreading beneath the flesh. I don't know how much longer I can resist. The signs grow stronger every night. The animals pile higher. The whispers grow louder. And every time I close my eyes, the pit grows deeper. Soon, I think, the pull will be too strong. And when it calls me back, I'm afraid I won't have the strength to say no. It's happening faster now. Every night, the breathing comes stronger, deeper, rattling through the floor like the bones of the world shifting in their sleep. The spirals no longer stay hidden. They bloom openly across my walls, my skin. I've stopped trying to scrub them away. I've stopped pretending. The thing in that hollow marked me the moment I stepped across its boundary, and now the mark has taken hold. This morning, I woke to find a black bear carcass draped across the hood of my new truck. Ribs splayed open, spiral symbols carved deep into the exposed bone. No blood, no tracks. It was just there, as if placed by unseen hands. I didn't call anyone. Who would I tell? The police? The game wardens? They wouldn't understand. No one does. Because this isn't something that can be explained. It's older than that. Older than words. Older than the stones. And now it wants me back. I see them now, even in daylight. Thin figures, pale as bone, gliding at the edges of my sight. Sometimes reflected in windows in the dark gloss of a turned-off screen. They're watching, waiting. They know it's almost time. 2 nights ago, something new arrived, a small wooden box left at my motel door. No return address. Inside was a fragment of human jawbone, spiral carved deep along the curve, teeth still intact. And beneath it a scrap of brittle parchment marked only with one thing, 2:46. The hour of my waking. The hour the pull begins. I've stopped fighting sleep. I've stopped fighting the dreams. When they come now, I go willingly, through twisting corridors of bone and earth, down to the widening pit. It's different each time, bigger, deeper, more alive. The walls pulse like muscle, wet with some dark fluid. And the mound of bones has grown taller, crowned with fresh skulls, some animal, some unmistakably human. At the pit's center, something vast stirs beneath a thin skin of earth, its breaths shaking the bones like leaves in a wind. And when I look down, I always see them, the pale figures, lining the spiral path, heads bowed, arms outstretched, waiting for me. I know what they want. I know what I am now, a carrier, a vessel, something meant to spread the mark beyond the hollow. But the pull is stronger now than my will. Tonight I woke at 2:46, as always, but already half-dressed, keys in hand, the motel door cracked open. The spiral marks on my arms burned cold, itching with a deep ache. The road map sat open on the bed. The route to Dry Creek Hollow circled in thick black ink. I don't remember marking it. I don't remember deciding. But the decision's already made. The truck is packed. I've checked out. The crows are following again, black shapes dotting the roadside wires as I drive. And the closer I get to those mountains, the deeper the cold in my chest. I can feel it, that low hum beneath the tires, the breathing growing stronger with each mile. I'm not writing this as a warning. There's no warning to give. It's too late for that. I'm writing this because I know what waits at the end of this road. I know that when I cross back into that hollow, I won't be coming out again. The pit is open. The bones are waiting. And I'm going home.